Hey guys, welcome back to Level 6 Math. I'm Mr. C, and today we're going to do our Saxon Math lesson number 41, finding a percent of a number. Today we're going to be looking at converting percents to fractions and fractions to percents, and we'll do that with normal problems, story problems. We'll do it with some money problems. So for example, when we describe a group, we sometimes talk about a fraction or a percent. So for example, 3/4 of the students voted for Imelda. So we'll just say 3/4. We could say 75% of the students voted for Imelda, but of course, 3/4 is just 75% reduced or simplified, right? Tim answered 80% of the questions correctly. We could also convert 80% to 4/5 because 80 over 100 reduces down to 4/5. So sometimes we say in fractions like 3/4, sometimes we say in percents. We also do this in money situations. So CDs were on sale for 30% off the regular price. Sales tax is 7%. The bank pays 3% interest. So we're often going to talk about money in terms of percents. Okay? We're asked to find a certain percentage of a number. We usually change that percent to either a fraction or a decimal. So for example, 25% means 25 over 100. Remember, percent is of 100, which reduces to 1/4 because the greatest common factor here is 25. 25 divided by 25 is 1. 100 divided by 25 is 4. 5% is the same thing as saying 5 over 100. And 5 over 100 reduces to 1/20th, doing math in the same way, just using reduction. All right, a percent is easily changed to a decimal number. So, like we just did, 25 can go to 25 over 100 and 0.25. We can see that on a graph by shading in 25 of the 100 boxes. So we can see that 25% or 1/4 looks like that. In 5%, it'd just be 5 over 100 and 0.05. Now here we see the non-zero digits are both in decimal and percent forms of a number. In the decimal form, the decimal point is shifted 2 places to the left. So 25%, if we want to put that in decimal form, we just shift the decimal 1, 2 to the left, so it looks like this, 0.25. Same number, just shifting the decimal. All right, so we need to try to write 15% in decimal form. Now remember, the first thing we're going to do is put it over 100, so this is going to be 15 over 100, okay? And then from there, we can reduce. Well, actually, this doesn't. If we reduced it, they're both divisible by 5, so that would be 3/20ths. But if we're just changing it to a decimal, I'm sorry, I misspoke. If we're just going to do it in decimal form, we want it out of 100 because then we can just shift that decimal 2 points to the left. So having 15 over 100 works fine. Just move that decimal 2 parts to the left. We could do this on a grid showing 15 out of 100. Please don't do that. What a waste of time. All right, 75% is a reduced fraction. So now we're going to reduce. That first one we didn't reduce, now we're going to reduce. 75%, so now we go 75 over 100. And greatest common factor here is going to be 25. So we can divide 75 divided by 25 is 3. 100 divided by 25 is 4. It's going to be 3/4. Hopefully that's a mental math thing for you. When you see 75%, you're like, oh yeah, that's 3/4. So that should be an easy one. What number is 75% of 20? Remember, the key word here is of. Of means multiply. So we can do 75% times 20. Now there's a few ways we can do that. If we're going to multiply a percent with a normal number, we need to put that into fraction form first. So we're going to take that 75% of 20, we're going to change it to 75 over 100, which reduces to 3/4, and then multiply that by 20. So this is a little more involved. Now if we want to do it as a decimal, 75%, we just move that decimal over 0.75 and just times that by 20. So just 0.75 times 20. You can do it either way. Now if you do it either way, 3/4, if we do 3 times 20, that's 60 divided by 4, we're going to get 15. If we do it 0.75 times 20, we'll get 15.00 because we've got the decimal that we're using. Either way, the answer is going to be 15. Now this is going to take some practice. Today's homework, it might be a little frustrating for a few of you, but once you do this a few times, it's really going to be pretty easy. All right, which is easier to compute, 3/4 times 20 or 0.75 times 20? That's a personal thing. I mean, 3/4 times 20 we can do really quickly on this one, but we had to reduce it first. So there's the extra step. We can skip the step and just do the decimal and just line up our columns and do it that way. So it just really depends on your preference. All right, Jamal correctly answered 80% of, there's the keyword of, 25 questions. So how many questions did he correctly answer? Again, if you're going to do it with, keep it in percent, 80% times 25, I'm going to convert 80% to a fraction. And I can do that in my head. 80%, that's going to be 80 over 100. To reduce, that's going to be like 8 over 10. Divide that by 2 on each with the common factor of 2. So then we get 4/5. So 80% equals 4/5. Then I can just say 4 times 25 is 100. Divided by 5 is 20. So my answer is going to be 20. So that's one way to do it. You're probably not ready to do it with mental math. You're going to write that out. And so you're going to do 80%. You're going to change that to 4/5 and multiply that by 25. If you're going to do it with the decimal, all you have to do is move the decimal over twice. So it's going to be 0.8 or 0.80 times 25. So it's just going to look like that. We're going to line it up and do our multiplication. Either way, we're going to have an answer of 20. Okay? So it works either way. There we go. Sales tax. Now we're going to do a lot of this. For the whole rest of the year, you're going to have a lot of sales tax questions. So it's important, we did the groundwork already in today's lesson, but these questions are going to keep popping up. So sales tax rate is 6%. Remember, 6 as a decimal is 0.06, not 60. If we move the decimal over twice to get a percent, we go once, that would be 0.6. Twice is 0.06. Sales tax on 12% purchase, so we could just do $12 times 0.06. If we wanted to do this the way we were doing the other ones, we could change this to a fraction, 6 over 100, which would be 3/50, and then times 3/50 by 12. That's one way, but probably this one's going to work better if we just keep it in decimal form. The thing we're multiplying it by is already in decimal form. So we would take 0.06, multiply that by 12, we're going to get 72 cents. That's going to be the tax. Now, if it asks what's the total price, including tax, then we take that tax, 72 cents, and add it to 12 and get $12.72. Now, the great thing about sales tax is these ones are pretty easy to check our work because they're going to make sense. If you're paying 6%, well, that's less than 10%. And 10% is super easy to figure out. On $12, 10%, we just move the decimal once, it'd be $1.20. So if we're doing 6%, that's about half of $1.20, a little more than half of $1.20. So half of $1.20 would be 60 cents. So a reasonable answer, 72 cents, that's pretty close to 60 cents. So we can check our work that way. It's really not that tricky to check our work in sales tax. And you want to do that because these are problems that students miss all the time. All right, that's going to do it for today's lesson. This is a lesson that's going to take a lot of work. You're going to be writing a lot down and showing your work. As you can see from the examples, some of it you can do with mental math. Most of these problems I can do using mental math, but that's because I've practiced and written it down and shown my work for years and years. So let's get practicing. Good luck.